1. Welcome back to JawnZone. I'm your traditional host here, sitting with my counterpart, Andre Kitchens. My name is Christopher Jawn, and we've decided that we're going to try out a little video format today and see how that works. Hopefully this is a thing that we can keep around.
Yeah, now as you can see, or maybe you can't see, I mean, me and Chris are staring at each other because, I'm on the East Coast and he's on the West Coast.
Yep.
So right now it's light over there and dark over there. Yeah, so, this is format, but we're going to get used to it and we're going to see how this goes.
Yeah. Hopefully it can be a nice change. So, I'm wearing a traditional current updated jersey, Deshaun Jackson, hoping for a big year for my dude right there. And what are you wearing there?
Man, I got a Harold Carmichael jersey on.
Okay, nice.
Honestly, it goes way back. I mean, I don't know its stats, but I like the jersey. It looks pretty good. I think it looks good.
Yeah, he used to actually be, I think, the leading receiver in the league in terms of yards, so he was pretty dominant.
Oh, yeah. I got you. Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do first, we have a pretty packed schedule today. We're going to go over projected defensive stats for our players. So I'm expecting a pretty big year. A couple of guys especially are filling in the gaps. We didn't really have as great of depth last year, but this is something that we kind of just attacked. And trust in Howie. I don't know how he does it, but he does it pretty good. So even with a couple people retiring or leaving, still seem to be in pretty good shape. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, yeah, man, because, with the moves that he made, we always say on the show, Howard's not really a player personnel guy. But, I think that we're really stacked. We got a couple of, veterans from other teams who have some major upside. But even if they're not on the upside, we have them on mostly short-term deals.
Yep.
I kind of like Howard's strategy of, building this for now and later. Yeah.
Well, definitely. I even hear some rumors. Did you hear about any rumors about some players that we might be targeting or someone you might be hoping we get?
Well, man, my thing is that, we're probably hoping to get Gerald McCoy, maybe sign him. He's still in the market right now.
Yeah.
Also, have you heard about Jadeveon Clowney?
I did hear about that, and that gets me pretty excited as well. I know he would demand a huge contract, but at the same time, what is he, 26 years old? This is going to be his first major re-signing, and that's almost like a 5-year of spectacular play guaranteed, right? Hopefully he doesn't have any injury history. I guess it's reasonable to say, a player of his caliber would miss one of those years. But even so, we just had one of the oldest teams of the league. So two people that we lost, actually lost a couple more than that, but two major ones, especially at the defensive end, was one of the really greatest players in the league. It's a tragedy to lose such a good person, but Chris Long, and he's been pretty active in social media and everything afterwards. So hoping he has the best careers after his helping us win our first title, but fortunately he's gone. And then we also traded away Michael Bennett to the Patriots, my least favorite team. So how do you think we held in filling those pieces? Oh, it looks like Andre's frozen there. All right. Well, we'll wait till he comes back.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened there. Is this still recording?
Yeah, it's recording. So basically, you just had some technical difficulties. I think your internet is just a piece of garbage. So something that actually, just a side note, I think I know what's going on here. I'm not currently in Philadelphia, and Andre is in Philadelphia. And for those of you who don't know, there's this giant company that kind of runs the internet that is based in Philadelphia. And they're kind of ruthless when it comes to just not providing good services to everybody, but charging them full price anyway. So they're doing something called data throttling, where they say they're going to give you a certain amount of data for your money, and then they reduced the amount of data that you can get during a certain time to A, save money on their part, but B, try to get you to purchase a better upgraded plan. So you'd be paying more money just to get the regular service you were trying to get in the beginning. And I mean, we were living together in an apartment once, and I remember we had no choice to get Comcast. We had to get Comcast because they were paying, and they're not supposed to do this, but they were paying our landlord money, so he would only let people in his community get Comcast for their internet and their TV. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because like they were apparently paying the leasing company, and so Comcast. So it was just like, so like you saying that you really don't want to be competitive. It's like you come to the point where you just want to block out. And honestly, I guess us saying this, I mean, Comcast is not going to sponsor us when we do get a sponsor. So, I mean, I guess it's over for that.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go with DirecTV or someone good. I don't know. We'll have to find out who's like the least sleazy, because like like landlords and like internet companies are just giant sleazy organizations. I'm sorry. It's like there are some good, I'm sure, out there, but they're overrun by people who are just trying to take advantage of everybody's money. But okay, so what I was saying is we lost two great guys. One of them, Chris Long, one of them, Michael Bennett. But before we talk about Gerald McCoy and Jadeveon Clowney more, let's talk about how we did refill the cartridge with a couple of good players.
Oh yeah, man. Because like, I mean, for instance, like we had Malik Jackson, who showed a lot in his first 2 years, but I believe because of contracting and money situation, they really wanted to, restructure his deal. He didn't want to take it, and then they pretty much got another defensive end in his place.
Correct.
So yeah, for the most part, I just fell into our lap.
I
mean, I don't know, man. What you got? Yeah.
So yeah, him.
And then on top.
Oh yeah. Well, I just kind of agree on Malik Jackson. It's not that he had really a bad year last year. It's like more like everyone on that team had a bad year last year on the Jaguars. So they were just trying to cut clean. Maybe they paid him a little bit too much, but the thing is, they were paying him starter money, and on our team, he's not going to be the dominant guy getting double teams. He's playing next to Fletcher Cox. So he's going to be able to eat against single matchups every single time. But who are you mentioning and the other guy that we picked up?
I mean, the other guy we picked up was LJ Fort from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
LJ Fort. I think that LJ Fort, he was actually a good linebacker for a while. I mean, because like we already know, like Eagles, like we don't really emphasize linebacker position, but I think that like it really works out for us more with our defensive line, because teams are going to be less, they will be less willing to run against us. Yeah. And so if anything, we're going to need coverage. I think that a lot of teams like they find success against us with tight ends, like mostly receiving tight ends. So I think if we sure up the linebacker position, we'll be better suited for that.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
So we lost Jordan Hicks.
Yeah, definitely.
I forgot to mention that. We lost Jordan Hicks as well. He was phenomenal, someone that I had wanted someone of his caliber for a while, someone who would consistently get over 100 tackles each year, which isn't it's not an easy thing to just do. So when we replaced him and also that undrafted free agent rookie linebacker that we could be possibly having to be a backup for him as well. But, just Jordan Hicks is just too injured all the time. So, fortunately, he took the money. That was good for him and his family. So, we're glad to see you go and get your money. So, have a good one. Wish the best for you unless we're playing you. And then someone else that we actually picked up from the Bucks. Do you remember someone who helped us win a Super Bowl?
Someone who helped us win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The one guy who kind of like went away but then came back. What was his name? Oh, Vinny Curry.
Yeah, Vinny Curry.
We got him from the Bucks.
Yeah.
I think that want our veteran leadership back. I think that with Chris Long being gone, he was a good veteran for us. I think Vinny Curry with his experience with the team and everything.
Yeah,
I think that he kind of stepped into. I mean, he won't be a tremendous player or disruptor, but I really like his veteran status on the team.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. Because Vinny, serviceable.
Yeah. Well, especially because
then,
last year. Oh, wait, what were you saying?
No.
Okay.
I had nothing more to say.
Gotcha. Well, I was saying how last year we kind of ran into an issue where it seemed like we had a lot of depth, but we actually didn't due to injuries and other things that happened during the season. So we lost our defensive end, the guy who's going to be in his third year, the guy from Tennessee who broke Reggie White's sack record. So I'm actually really excited. Derek Barnett. I'm really excited to get him back. But behind him, we're a rotational team, attacking with 4, but getting consistent rotations in there. We really didn't have that because we had to send out Michael Bennett there. And then when we had Tim Jernigan, who also is coming back, he was injured all last year. We had to send in Haloti Nada. It was just old, and Haloti would have been nice just as like a rotational player, but not really as much as a every down player. So our defense was letting up more run and pass yards than last year when we should have. But that was a depth issue. Now we kind of filled both those positions with backups. So if, God forbid, Brandon Graham or, who knows, maybe even Malik Jackson gets injured, then we got Tim Jernigan. Then we got another Vinny Curry step in, who actually Vinny Curry can line up at the deep tackle position. He's done that before. So we definitely got a lot of depth there. So let's add in the fact that not the fact, but the possibility that we might be able to get Gerald McCoy in there. So let's just say those 4 names at the defensive tackle position together at once. It sounds really good. There's Fletcher Cox, and then we have Vinny Curry. I mean, I would count him more as a defensive end, but we got Fletcher Cox, and then we got Malik Jackson, Tim Jernigan, and if we add in Gerald McCoy into that, oh my God, that is just like eating up really good. I'm really excited at the probability or possibility of getting Gerald McCoy in there. Even if we don't have him, he's a really good lineup. So what Andre missed when he was out, I was just listing. Yeah, so I'll say it again, Andre. Listen to this lineup of 4 people, not necessarily in terms of starters, but just imagine this rotation. We have Fletcher Cox, Tim Jernigan, Malik Jackson, Gerald McCoy. The backups, our backups are starters on other teams if that was the case. Tim Jernigan was a beast when he was playing. And if he comes back at half of the capability he was doing, he'd be unstoppable. But they're going to be fresh. No other team really has that kind of depth where their backup, who should be a starter on another team, is going to be fresh, coming out of the gate, every single time, pushing down on the center and those guards, 300 pounds worth every single time as hard as they can go. Who do you double team? How are they even going to be able to stop that? If that happened, we would not have any trouble stopping any running back. I don't care who's back there. We would be able to stop them. You can morph and make Todd Gurley do the what's it called? The fusion dance with Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah, fusion. So fuse together. You could make a hybrid of those 3 running backs, and they wouldn't be able to run against our defensive line.
Yeah, so, I believe that.
Yeah. And also, what were you saying?
Yeah, I was about to say, man, even last year when, we had a couple of injuries on the line, even last year, they actually, some players stepped up. I mean, you had Trayvon Hester who stepped up. I'm saying he's good with the run stuff. And I think that he'll get even better this year.
Yeah, definitely. So he's also learning from, I mean, some of the better guys. So we have a great defensive line coaches, so they'll take care of things. Looks like Andre is frozen again, but I guess we'll move on to our next subject. Defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney is a possibility of us trading for him. Now, knowing Howie Roseman's track record of not necessarily being the greatest drafter, and with Joe Douglas on the possibility of being the new Jets GM, hopefully that does not happen. But it's still out there. We've already lost the VP of director. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
So I was just talking about how we don't have the best record with Howie Roseman at drafting, and we might lose Joe Douglas, which would be a travesty. But if that did happen, then trading for a Jadeveon Clowney or someone like that would make a lot more sense because Howie isn't the strongest drafter. And also, like, I do like Brandon Graham, but I do feel like he's a tiny bit overpaid, which is totally fine. I don't mind that at all. But, like, I think after his 2 years, I don't think he's going to make it to that third year. So we'll have Derek Barnett on one side. We're going to need another side of defensive end. So we got Jadeveon Clowney. He's, like, younger, stronger, probably, like, a little bit better than Brandon Graham. So if we get him, then that's going to be set for position to come for years. So honestly, as long as we don't give up, like, too much, what would you say that the Texans want for him, like, in terms of a trade?
Well, because, like, I mean, so there's a few factors that would go into that. Mm-hmm. One is, like, Jadeveon Clowney's age. I mean, he's only 26 years old.
Yeah.
And not to mention, he plays a position that, still has a lot of value past, the 30-year-old mark. You know what I'm saying? But I think that for the most part with Texans, it's the money. And I think what they want to do with their current offensive situation is that they want to really put more like weapons around their guy. The quarter. What the fuck? Like, dude, like, who's their quarterback right now? I know
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson. I think that they really want to put more weapons around Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because, like, with DeAndre Hopkins, by the time Deshaun Watson really gets to his prime, I think that DeAndre Hopkins will be on the downslope.
Yeah.
And really, they want to focus more on that, and they want to focus on their franchise quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wouldn't be surprised if, the Texans will go on and try to trade Jadeveon Clowney for, maybe I would say a third-round draft pick, because I'll give him a second round. And maybe a third-round draft pick and maybe, like, a change of pace running back.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So, like, Wendell Smallwood, I guess?
I mean, I would say they'll probably take Corey Clement.
Yeah, they would. I would be hesitant on getting rid of him because he's almost like our Westbrook, like, backup. Like, he showed what he can do in that Super Bowl, and I'm still not giving up on him. But we do look like a little loaded. So I'll counter your offer. I kind of feel like they won a first-round pick, actually, because this is, like, I mean, a premium position, a former first-round pick. So I can see them, like, kind of wanting a first-round pick to replace their former first-round pick. Not to mention the guy was what, like, I think first or second picked overall. Like, whew. So he's pretty high up there, and they hold him in high regard. They just can't afford him. So I can actually see them, if we don't give up a first-round pick for him, maybe something a little closer to the first-round pick where a second-round pick along with a couple players could work. So I actually see us with our log jam at cornerback, we could probably ship a guy or two off there. Okay, hey. So basically I was mentioning how I think that because Jadeveon Clowney was like a top 2 or something pick overall, they'll probably want a first-round pick to replace them because he's a first-round pick in their mind. So I can see them kind of doing like a second-rounder and a couple of guys that would fill in to make it feel like a first-round pick. So a couple of guys I know we have available are at the cornerback position, kind of have a log jam right there. So, like, we can probably give one or two out to multiple teams and still have, like, pretty good. Because, like, Cravon LeBlanc and, Jalen Mills, like, players like that, I don't even hear them, like, practicing, apparently, because they're buried in the depth chart. And it's like, what? Those guys were really good. So why don't we trade some of our players to the AFC or something like that? So don't really have to deal with that.
Well, man, I mean, I think that if anybody – so if we're talking about quarterbacks, man, well, I think that if anybody that will trade, I think that Ronald Darby, depending on how he does in the first half of the season, will probably be traded.
I would want to trade him. Yeah.
Because, like, he gets – if he's showing signs like he can't really step up and be in that outside corner position,
yeah,
I think by mid-season, we should definitely aim for a trade. And Jadeveon Clowney – depending on if he's still available, I mean, I think that Ronald Darby would definitely be trade bait, along with maybe, I would say, highest third-round draft pick for that. That's
okay.
I think, bro.
Yeah. Well, you got to keep in mind as well that they're considering us as a playoff team. So our third-round pick is kind of like almost a fourth-rounder, which is like why I would think they would want like a late second round, But who knows? Maybe we can give up like 2/3 or something like that. I would do that in a heartbeat. Like, who knows? But yeah, they might be asking for a little bit more. Who knows? But let's move on to our projections for our guys, at least the starters on the defense.
Okay.
So, we obviously spent some time talking about the line. That's a good place to start then. So on defensive end, we have Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett. How do you see them doing this year?
I mean, I see them doing pretty good, but it's all would really depend on the secondary. Definitely the secondary. But like Derek Barnett, I see him still progressing and going forward. Brandon Graham, I really don't see him progressing too much. Like I don't think that he has much of an upside. He's on the other side, 30 years old.
Yeah.
What I like about him is that he's consistent.
Yeah.
And then behind those two guys, I mean, we of course, Malik Jackson, he can switch on, but primarily he'll be used in the set. Yeah. But behind them, we got like Josh Sweat. We have maybe Trayvon Hester would be like a switch defensive end.
Yeah, Vinny Curry.
Yeah, Vinny Curry. Yeah, I mean, but it's all in a rotation. But I do think that Derek Barnett and Brandon Graham would definitely be starters at defensive end. But
So I can see Brandon Graham, he was already coming out and saying last year was disappointing because he was dealing with, I think, a groin or it might have been a sports hernia injury for most of the year.
Yeah.
So he actually might have a bounce back and do a little better. I can see him having like 9 or 9.5 sacks. And you got to keep in mind that he's getting single teamed every time. So everyone's going to be focusing on Fletcher Cox, understandably. So he's going to be able to eat. So I can see him getting that. I honestly, for Derek Barnett, see him getting above 10 sacks. I think he was on pace last year. He has incredible bend, like absurd bend. Like if you guys don't know what that means, basically when you're trying to run around this defensive end, he's like almost going on a 90-degree angle, running on the ground, getting around the guy, and the guy's like, what the heck? They're not supposed to be able to move like that. So you can get around someone like inhumanely by spinning your body around them like that. So I can see him getting that, especially, we just talked about Fletcher Cox getting, I don't even know. Like, so let's move on to the defensive tackle position. So we got our starters, Malik Jackson, Fletcher Cox, and Tim Jernigan is almost like a starter himself. So what do you think their sack totals or how do you think they're going to do this season?
Well, I think that, man, it's supposed to be a rough run stuff, man. I mean, because, like, the defensive tackles, they're not really, known for getting a lot of sacks and all that. I think that for the most part, I think that our run defensive will be amazing.
Yeah.
Because if you can have, Malik Jackson and Fletcher Cox, like, going up the middle, it really causes a lot of disruption. For a lot of pocket passers, it's going to be a huge problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and thankfully this year, we have a good amount of pocket passers that are really going to not be as mobile and that we really get after. And then on top of that, behind those guys, we got, Trayvon Hester, who I keep talking about.
Yeah.
And then we have disruption, from the ends. I think that our line overall is going to be pretty good. They're all going to eat. It's going to be a fucking buffet.
Yeah. I can see them probably – I mean, I don't see another team with this kind of depth and this kind of talent. So this might be the strongest position group for defensive line in the league. And going beyond that, this might be the strongest position group in terms of depth and raw power of any position. Like I'm looking across the league, I really don't see that many teams, whether it's wide receiver or cornerback or anything like that, that has this kind of depth, like scary good. So, all right, nice.
Oh, what were you saying? Yeah, well, I mean, one thing I kind of see like that is, honestly, I mean, shout out to the Browns, bro. Because like, with Olivier Vernon, like, Myles Garrett, I think you got to start of a tandem there that's going to really let the other people eat. But,
that's true, but they don't have the depth where we have like a starter caliber guy behind our starters. So yeah, they're on their way. Maybe they can stand to get one more guy. But moving on, okay, let's talk about our linebackers. So the guy that I kept on mentioning, he's the rookie. His name is TJ Edwards. I wouldn't be surprised to see him actually becoming the starter midway through the season. But right now at the top of the depth chart, it looks like Camu Grugier-Hill, Zach Brown, and Nigel Bradham are going to be the starters. At least that's what the depth chart is right now. So we did, like you said, we got LJ Fort, and even there's a couple guys, Paul Warlow and Nathan Jerry. So, yeah, they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, because, like, for the most part, Warlow, we had him at supporting time, but we actually let him go. And then,
yeah.
So, because like the linebacker position, I think that out of the entire defense, that position is the really most, it's most misnomer.
Yeah.
Out of all the positions. I mean, like I said, we don't emphasize that.
We don't have a star name there, but we do have like safeties that kind of come down. So maybe we might not even get like a linebacker that ends up with 100 tackles. But when you're eating at the defensive line position like we are, like we don't really need as much of a run defense. So throwing safeties back there more often, probably smarter for just stopping errant passes. So I can see our guys getting like 75, 80 tackles max, for one of them players. All right. Moving on to the cornerbacks and safeties. So first, this is actually really confusing. Not confusing, just we are not sure how the cornerback position battles are going to play out. Listed right now online on a depth chart, which might not be the final depth chart when we roll into the season. It has Jalen Mills, Ronald Darley, and Sidney Jones as our starting cornerbacks. But, behind that, we have guys that should be starters, Rasul Douglas, Avonte Maddox, and Cravon LeBlanc. So those guys are like literal starting caliber players. So especially Maddox, if I was him, I'd actually want to be thrown in the safeties mix because we could use more safeties. But
always,
this looks like a position of strength. Do you think that we're gonna try to, keep some consistency, name some starters, keep them out there, or do you think we're gonna treat them kind of like how we treat our defensive line, where we're switching guys in constantly?
Well, you know what, man? I think that that's going to require a little bit more consistency because, like, pretty much like our defensive line, the way I see it is that they have really one task. It's like, everybody behind the line of scrimmage, you attack.
Yeah.
Now, say whether it's a quarterback or whether you hand it off to the running back. Now, that's their goal, just get behind that line of scrimmage.
Right.
For our secondary, it has to be a little bit more cohesion and a little bit more targeting. It's like, okay, look, man, we got this one, we got receivers. There's going to be that wide receiver battle.
Yeah.
And so we're going to need our guys to be able to our cornerbacks be able to go one-on-one with these receivers, and that you know, safeties will help over the top. I mean, they also help in run game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, exactly.
Stretch.
Yeah. So who do you see the stars of the position at? I mean,
I unfortunately think that Ronald Darby is going to lock down one of those spots just because we traded a first-round pick for him. And of all those guys, that's like the highest pick of any of them. But like the problem with that is like he is almost like an Asante Samuel where he's not the greatest tackler. He'll try to jump the route, except that he isn't as good as a ball hawk as Asante Samuel was. So he misses tackles like consistently, which is really frustrating. But if you're not going to tackle, you have to be able to cover. Those are your two jobs at the cornerback position. Now, like maybe he's like a workout warrior or like has a great attitude or he's really close with Jim Schwartz. I really don't know what it is. But if there was someone to trade away, I would try to trade Ron Darby. Like I don't know why we signed him to a pretty expensive contract too. I think what was it, $8 million or $12 million just for 1 year? I'm not sure like why you would do that for someone who's basically on a tryout year. And also we have like 6 other guys that we could throw in there and be starters, no problem. So I think that he's going to lock down a spot. I'm not sure who's going to get the Well, I was just going over who was being, you know, in the cornerback slots. So Ronald Darby's going to be stuck at 1, but I'm not sure who's going to make it out and end up as the slot corner. So I think, what was his name? Sidney Jones was thrown in a slot corner. But, like, Jalen Mills is great for slot corner. And, Avonte Maddox, they were also throwing him in a slot too, which I can kind of see. You know, as a safety, you have more responsibilities that are similar to slot corners. So I can see him being fine in there. But that begs the issue is like one of our players not going to like it if they know they're starting caliber like Jalen Mills and he's on the bench. So we might have to just trade one away and try to get a higher draft pick or something like that from another shit team. So, you know, like trade to, I don't know, Buffalo, the Jags, the Jets. Like, there's plenty of dysfunctional teams out there. So we got Andre frozen up again. And while he's frozen up, he just came back.
Yeah.
I just went over finishing touches for the cornerbacks. So what we're going to do now is real quickly just jump to the safeties. It honestly isn't really a competition. Ronnie McLeod and Malcolm Jenkins are about there. We need to pay Malcolm Jenkins kind of like we paid the other guys. I see some people online that are like, oh, he's asking for too much money, but it's like all the other people that got paid like he's asking weren't asking for too much money. You just don't like him because he's like outspoken or whatever. But he brought us a Super Bowl. Like, you know how many like things we said we would give up or promises we'd make in order to win us one Super Bowl? And now people are saying like, oh, Malcolm Jenkins is like opening his mouth and speaking about social issues. Like we should not like support him or anything like that. It's like, who cares what he's saying? He brought us a Super Bowl. He brought us a Super Bowl. I'm not like stuttering. I'm not making that up. He brought us a Super Bowl. Our defense was in shambles before he showed up. Like, we lost Brian Dawkins and then tried to replace him with Nate Allen and Jaquan Jarrett, the likes of that. Corey Coleman, I mean, like, he ended up being good on the Panthers, but, like, man, it was nightmare back there. People did not know how to tackle on our defense until Malcolm Jenkins showed up on this team and showed them how to tackle. That is a fact, and it was a problem. Now, when we filled in our second safety position, Ronnie McLeod, it kind of, it was like the icing on the cake. He's almost like our enforcer, like a Cam Chancellor. So when he came from the Rams, he had that, like, he was known for quote-unquote dirty hits or, like, really hard hits or whatever. I'm not going to say that, like, that's good or, like, you want someone to be dirty, but you definitely want someone to strike fear in your opponents, especially going over the middle. And if you remember in that Super Bowl, when Brandon Cooks was actually, there was 2 plays with Brandon Cooks that our safeties took care of. The first time Brandon Cooks, it was like, I think on their first drive, It was 3rd and 1, and he got a quick pass and tried to jump over Rodney McLeod, and McLeod just held him. I thought he was going to get the yard, but he just held him, and that held them to a field goal opportunity. And then also later in that game, what's his name? Brandon Cooks had a long pass, and it looked like they were going to open up their field, and all of a sudden he turned his head, wasn't looking, poof, the Knights knocked out of him. Like, that set the tone for the game. Even if they went and scored on that drive, it really doesn't matter if you send that message that, hey, you're not passing deep anymore because you just took a part of their game out of it. So we need Malcolm Jenkins, Rodney McLeod too. We have backups, but I can see Avonte Maddox thrown in there. But Malcolm Jenkins is almost like our middle linebacker. So anyone talking bad about him, just stop it. He won us the Super Bowl. If we win it again, he's going to be responsible. So let's just pay him. Like, he's worth every penny. So what do you have to say on that? Or should we just move on to the next subject? It looks like Andre is frozen once again. Oh, well. Well, hopefully we'll be getting these internet issues worked out. But next thing we wanted to go over was actually the Eagles' schedule. So usually going into a year, it's pretty hard to predict what your schedule is going to be. Not because of you know how good your team is. You just don't know how other teams are going to turn out being good. Yeah. So what I was talking about, Andre, is switching into going over the schedule and how it's hard to predict because we just don't know how other teams are going to be good. Like, there's always teams that weren't in the playoffs that end up in there the following year. So looking at your schedule, it looks like there's some easy games that could be hard, and it looks like there's some hard games that could be easy. We're going to try to break it all down.
Yeah.
Going on the first game, we have the Washington Foreskins. Again, I'm not going to say their name because I'm Native American, and it's the weirdest thing in the world that this is the actual name of a football team. You can say it's your traditions, like, okay, fine, they're your traditions, they're racist. Just stop doing them. Like, you don't have to keep on traditions just because people have been doing things. If people had been ritualistically sacrificing each other and you said, oh, well, I'm just going to keep on doing that, not because it's a smart thing to do, but because it's traditions, then you're an idiot. So that's what I have to say on that. So I can actually see this being a little difficult, though. We're playing at home, but they kind of are a scrappy team. I don't know how to describe it, but there's usually – I don't know, until the end of the game, it kind of feels like they're always in it. We have won the last – oh, okay. Welcome back. So we've won the last 4 games against the Foreskins.
Yeah.
They've mostly, except for that shutout, which I don't even think they were really trying at the end of last season. But, we've won the last 4 games. They won the 5 games before that. We've won the 3 games before that. They won the 2 games before that. And it goes on and on. We have to go back 10 years in 2010 to find a game where there wasn't a streak. So there's either a losing streak with them or there's a winning streak with them. We're kind of streaky with them. I don't know why that's the case, but it's just how it is. So, Kirk Cousins for a while had our number. And that was kind of concerning. Like, the guy wasn't that great. He would mostly pad his stats against mediocre defenses. And Jim Schwartz with our defense kind of likes to line up his corners too far off of the people. I like putting them up, having them man corner and be rough and tough at the line of scrimmage. So, I don't know. Like, they just seem to know us pretty good. And divisional games are always tricky. So if there is we're only going to go over the first 8 games of the season. But if there is a trap game, I'd probably say it's either them or the next week, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. But how do you feel about them?
I mean, the way I feel about them, though, is that, because, like, as that show, I mean, I'm not going to break out the details, but as that show, Redskins and the Eagles have traded the most players in the conference together.
Phew.
Yeah, so, like, pretty much what's happening is that we exchange players a lot, you know. And with the players, when we exchange players or when we set players to them, we get each other's playbook. Their offensive playbook mostly, and also, we know more about each other than other teams in the NFC East, and that's.
Okay, I can see that being a thing. So, what do you think? Looks like he's frozen again. All right. So predictions for their score. I can see us putting up points, no problem. But the thing is, I can kind of see them doing the same thing. So if I had to say a final score prediction, I'm actually going to go like 34-31. I think that's like close to what the score was for Chip Kelly's first ever game when he was coaching the Eagles. We played against the Foreskins. So, yeah, I'm going to have to say that we're going to win that one of a score, the 34-31. So, Andre, what is your score prediction?
I mean, I would say that my score prediction would be 25-14.
Oh, okay. Us?
Yeah, us, 25-14.
I can see that too. Yeah.
Because I don't remember the last time we blew these guys out since Mike Vick basically played a bad game against these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't see that happening.
Mm-hmm. Except for that the game last year, but they didn't have a quarterback. Alex Smith was injured.
Yeah.
So, plus, we got to keep in mind that weren't they 6-3 with Alex Smith, and then he got injured. So they were the top of the division, and it looked like they were going to be the ones challenging us instead of the Cowgirls. But that's not how it turned out. Okay, moving on to the next week, we have our first away game in Atlanta. This is a Sunday night game, so 6:20 p.m. in Mountain Time, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the game I'm actually most worried about in our first 8 games.
You're really worried about this game?
Yes, because Julio Jones, if used properly, there's really no answer for him going up for jump balls. He's just a freak of nature. Now, they haven't really done that lately because they're not like the smartest of teams always. But looking at them, they're still, even though they beat us last season, they're still bitter about when we beat them 2 seasons ago in the divisional round.
Well, we beat them last season.
Oh, we beat them? Oh, yeah, that was the first game of the season. That was a really close one.
Yeah, with Jalen Mills, he bucked that pass to Julio.
Oh, yeah, and we had the second Philly special. Oh, yeah. So, I remember that. But I can still see them being bitter about losing the past 2 times against us. And both of those games were really close. Like, they came down to a 1-score game. So,
well, they could be better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they could be better if they want. But, the thing is, their scheme.
Yeah.
I mean, our entire scheme all depends on the success of Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Because he opens the field up. He takes the top off the defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a short game, got a long game.
Yeah.
But one thing that you notice about them is that they haven't really been able to utilize them in the end zone because it's expected. They got Mohamed Sanu, and then they also lost a significant part of their offense when Tevin Coleman went to the 49ers, man.
Definitely. And who did he go join there? He joined their former offensive coordinator, the Shanahan, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, he was actually really good at that. But it just goes to show, I kind of said they're not as smart. They're smart enough to be like a football team. But, they seem to try to use him too much as a decoy. It's like, no, he is not the decoy. He's the coy. Throw it to him. I don't even know what that means. But, get him the ball. Just throw it to him. He's a jump ball specialist, really tall. I'm actually still, I'm still haunted by the divisional round when we won the Super Bowl. When that ball went through his hands, it looked like he could have still caught that and made it inbounds, and we would have lost that game on the last second, and we wouldn't have won a Super Bowl. But it went through, and then rewatching that game, it just really gets you in the feels. But
about this, man, he's not the decoy; he's the real McCoy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a good one.
Got you.
All right. So, what are your score predictions for that game?
I think that I think that we'll beat them. I think that we'll probably beat them by 10 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think if we don't lose to the Foreskins, that'll probably be our first loss of the season. And also, if you remember, like, usually every single season, unless you're like a cheating ass team in the worst division of football like the Patriots, you lose like one of your first 3 games no matter what. It's just like a weird happening where teams rarely start out really strong. So like there's some teams, like look at the Colts from last year. They started out like 0-5 or something like that, and then they won 11 straight. Like some teams just don't hit their stride until midseason. So if like there is a random game to lose, usually it would happen in the beginning of the season. One of those forget it ever happened, and like by week 6 you'll have forgotten already about it. Like it does suck being like 1-1 in the beginning of the season, but after like a bunch of games you're like 8-3 and you're like, okay, it's not a big deal. But okay, so I can actually see us unfortunately losing that one 25-22. So I think that, they're going to come down and they're going to beat us like sort of at the end, and we're just not going to be able to come back on the last drive. So if that's what happens, you heard it here first. So looks like Andre's frozen, but let's go to the next game, the Detroit Lions. So fun fact, we actually lost the past 2 games against the Lions. We haven't played them since 2016, but we lost to them by 1 point. I vaguely remember that. I think that might have been, that was Doug Peterson's first year. And if I remember correctly, Doug Peterson had done a couple, hey, how's it going? Talking about the Lions now. And we actually lost to them the last 2 times. The last time we played them was in 2016. And I think that was the game where Doug Peterson made a really dumb decision to not kick a field goal or something like that. And he went for it in 4th down. Or it was his first year, and it looked like he was kind of making some goofy decisions. But we lost by 1 point. And then the year before that, in 2015, we lost 45-14. So we haven't been good against them, and I'm not sure like what the problem is, but we haven't seen them for the 2-3 years. We're leading the series by 1 game. So I can see us beating them, though, especially if we come back from losing to the Falcons. This is a game that we're going to want to get our shit together. So if we had to beat them, they don't really have the greatest offense or even defense, really. They're kind of just like a mediocre middle-of-the-pack team, and their coach isn't even that good. Like everyone that Bill Belichick has let go end up sucking. So like I don't really feel afraid of them at all. So my prediction for that game is we're going to win like 33-13.
Well, yeah, I mean, because like the way I feel about that, the Lions is that they're on the edge of the rebuilding mode. I think that once like Matthew Stafford, he retires, because like that's maybe the only bright spot that they would have on their offense.
Yep. Yeah.
It's software problems, but yeah, man. I mean that's the only real bright spot that I see on their offense. But besides that, I mean I think that right now that team is just sell tickets until they can maybe like cruise into a rebuilding mode, and then they'll start from there. But yeah, man, I would say that we'll probably beat them by more than 2 touchdowns.
Oh yeah, me too. I totally agree. So the next game on our schedule is kind of tricky to predict. It's a Thursday night game against the Packers. So that one I'm saying is tricky because Aaron Rodgers is going to bring it, but you don't know if he's going to be injured. Like they just don't seem to be able to get their shit together on defense or on protecting Aaron Rodgers. So they've had some dysfunction as of lately. A nasty, I think it was ESPN or Bleacher Report article came out talking about how dysfunctional things were with the quarterback and their coach and things like that, even though most teams would, hey, how's it going? Talking about the Packers. But most teams would love to have a ESPN article detailing about how crazy their Hall of Fame quarterback is.
Yeah.
That means they have a Hall of Fame quarterback. But that's what I'm saying. Like, they don't protect him that well, and he could be injured by then. And we don't know if their defensive moves, which they threw a lot of money and draft picks at their defense, but it doesn't look like they threw anyone good in there. So who knows? Maybe some of their guys will turn up, but I can see us beating them pretty handily in this game. So what are your predictions for the score? Us versus Green Bay, knowing it's a Thursday night game.
Oh, it's a Thursday night game because, like, the way I see the Green Bay Packers is that right now, it's a stable locker room. A lot of foreign players have been really talking horrible about, like, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And that, their core group is not together. The leader of their defense, Clay Matthews, is no longer there.
Yep.
And even though he was declining in his abilities, I think that was still important for him as a linebacker to really keep it together. But I see defense as cheesy as it's always been, and their offense is not going to be really put together. Honestly, I still do have a fair, I would say, of Aaron Rodgers because mobile quarterbacks, I think that they really do hurt us. Mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to say in our next episode because we're going to split up the season into 2 halves.
Yeah.
But whenever we face the Seahawks and we'll go into our record versus them, it's horrible, especially recently. We can't seem to do good against mobile quarterbacks, no matter how good our defense is. And, I mean, we've had some good defenses the past couple of years. But, yeah, I can see that if he's not injured. So as long as he's healthy and – also, with all those new pieces, you have to think that Aaron Rodgers, even as good as he is, and their defensive coach, whoever he is, they're going to need to, like, mid-season to get into prime form. So remember that old thing Aaron Rodgers used to say? He would be like, relax. And that usually happened because they started the season sucking. So, like, I mean, I can see that happening again versus us Thursday night game. I gotta give us a score prediction. You know what? I'm not feeling their defense. Like, they got a bunch of people they overpaid to get in there that were kind of mediocre. They threw too many draft picks that were reaches, in my opinion. So I can see us steamrolling them, like trying to go by divisible of 3 or 7. So what's 7 times? 35 to like 10. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we have Carson Wentz and Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey, Miles Sanders, and, like, Jordan Howard. Like, yeah, I definitely see that.
I see this as a trap game, man.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Because, like, I think that, the way I go into this game and, I go into this game and maybe I got some, like, PTSD from the Seahawks game in 2017 before we played. Yeah, so like, I see Aaron Rodgers running for his life.
Yeah.
But that does, I see him just like running for his life, but I see him really being able to improvise and really cut through the defensive scheme. I mean, I see them maybe winning by like 2 field goals.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So going by our records, I think that's 1 loss you predicted so far and 1 loss I predicted by so far.
Yeah.
So that should, I think that's a pretty reasonable thing. You got to keep in mind too, the people who are listening in, we actually have a pretty easy schedule this year. Not that that's like a bad thing, but like we have some on paper, at least right now, the strength of schedule isn't as high as it could be. We'll talk about the Patriots in a tiny bit because they have the easiest schedule in the league for the 3rd straight year, which is just absurd for Super Bowl going team every year. But yeah, all right. So I guess I see us winning that, and you see us losing that. Now let's talk about this next game. Some background. 2 things. 1, people were always saying in articles they were trying to make our season look tough or something like that because of this next stretch that's coming up. I have to completely disagree with those statements. It's almost like doing half of a math problem and stopping there. You're not going to get the solution you need to get. So they're saying, oh, it's a terrible thing that we're facing these Jets when they're coming off of a bye. but we're coming off of a Thursday night game ourselves. So that's almost like an extra 3 or 4 or 5 days that we're getting anyway. And then it's followed by 3 away games. One's versus Minnesota, one's versus Dallas, and one's versus Buffalo. But honestly, I don't even consider Buffalo to be an away game because they're so close in proximity to us. Like how it takes like probably an hour to fly from Philadelphia to Buffalo if you're flying. And then also they're complaining how we're facing the Patriots after their bye. But we have a bye before that Patriots game too. So it's like there's all this stuff that people are complaining about, but if you really look into our schedule, there aren't that many problems. Okay, so now that we move past that, we're talking about the New York Jets right now. Mm-hmm. Andre, fun fact, when's the last time the Jets have beaten us?
Well, I would say never.
Never. They've never beaten us, ever. They're horrible.
Look it up.
How does that happen? I know we've only played them 10 times, but they've never won once? Like, I just don't – what? Like, how bad are you? Like, you're just not a good team, I guess. Like, so that's something that says how bad the Patriots division is if they're facing a team that we've never lost to. Even in years that we weren't, like, good, we still beat them. I remember we actually went to a Jets game that one time.
Oh, yeah.
Chip Kelly's year, and we won, even though we sucked. Because, that was Chip Kelly's year, and I kind of like that, how whenever we do have a bad coach, the ticket prices are really cheap. So me and Andre got a couple of tickets to some games. I remember we went to, like, a Cardinals blowout. Like, we lost, like, 40-something to 13 or whatever. But, like, the thing about this one was I was wearing a jersey kind of like what Andre was wearing. And it almost looked like a Jets jersey because our throwback jerseys kind of had like the similar colors, especially if you didn't get like a legit one or it's been washed too many times. And for some reason, this admin of a Facebook group kicked me out of his stupid Facebook group because he thought I was wearing a Jets jersey. And we were it was like at the Jets game because like we went to the New Jersey Stadium that's where the game was. But like, it's like, seriously, dude, like and I think the guy is from like England too. He's like some weird bandwagon, like sports writer that just copies most articles from other sports writers. But like the guy like literally said he bandwagoned, and like it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, okay, you're gonna kick me out of your group because you don't even know what our jersey used to know, like what it looked like. So whatever. Another funny story about that was me and Andre, we were actually coming out of the game. And it was right after we won. And there was this old lady who was like walking right next to us. And she's a Jets fan. And she like tells us in her like raspy voice, she's like, oh, you better watch out when you guys go to the parking lot. Do you remember that, Andre?
Okay, yeah, I remember that. But like, you already know where it stems from. It's like, it was obvious that, you know, she wasn't going to do anything. Mm-hmm. She was just saying that because like she knew that she was completely safe.
Yeah.
Fine, like you're not going to attack an old lady.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember what we told her?
Well, I mean, I don't remember because like it's so insignificant, but it's like it's because like what happened was like basically it's like, okay, you know, she said it out loud so that other, you know, maybe somebody else would hear it and they'll do what she says, because you got a lot of like, you know, pussy ass like white knights out here.
Yeah, exactly. And, the thing is, we told her like, what are we going to be scared about? We're from Philly. Like,
oh yeah.
Like seriously, like we're used to Philadelphia. Like New Jersey, we're going to be scared of you guys from New Jersey? Are you serious? Like, what is wrong with you people that you think you're scary? Like, there's nothing scary about like a bunch of weird, trashy people. Not saying everyone from Jersey is like weird or trashy, but like we looked around and we're like, okay, no one here is gonna take us out. Not gonna happen. Yeah. So
and on top of that, it's like, you know, like I mean, like to say about the fans in New York, like there's I don't like. All right, first of all, no one originally from New York could really afford those fucking tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like the fans that they're seeing in New York are like, you know, the guys who came here at the gentrification.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they because like they want to, take a picture on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
or I say like, or they just wanted to like do it because it's trendy.
Yeah,
I say,
like
this is an
social
80s
event.
Yeah, a social event.
How many girls we saw there? We saw so many girls, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of Jets fans. But then like we talk to them, they don't know anything about the Jets. It's like, what the heck?
I don't know anything. It's like, all right. It's like, all right, you like the quarterback and running back, but who else do you know?
Yeah, exactly. Or like, when was your team? Like, who's your Super Bowl winning quarterback? It's like, you won a Super Bowl. It's like,
but I mean, I understand. Like, I mean, New York. I'm like Philly, and I'm talking shit. It's like we gutted.
Yeah,
I say you got just a lot of transplants there.
Oh yeah.
Like, all right, look, we live in New York. We're New York fans now, and like that's all it is.
Yeah.
You don't have real fans anymore, New York. Your fucking fans are like either working on Wall Street or they're trust fund babies.
Yeah, exactly.
The minute you start losing all your fucking fans, that's what's going to happen.
Well, it doesn't even matter because both of those organizations are like in dog shit. And we'll probably elaborate later on that. But like the Jets, Adam Gase, that like freaky wide-eyed stranger guy who conned his way to be the head coach of two teams. You stay away from our GM, dude. I swear to God, if we see Joe Douglas walking into your facility next year with the Jets things on, we're coming after you, buddy. All right? Yeah. I don't care how wide your eyes are. We're going to take care of you. We're from Philly, dude. People don't remember that. Like, go Google online what happens to people when you mess with Philly. So we already talked about the Jalen Mills incident, but do you remember the incident of when that like traveling robot was going around? People were just paying for like
that was fucked up.
Yeah. So there was this robot that like people, I don't even know from where, but they dressed up like a trash can to look like a robot and put a little iPod in there. So people were buying it like bus tickets and plane tickets, complete strangers just taking it on their journey and then leaving it somewhere, and someone else would just pick it up and take it somewhere else and stuff. And it was having a grand old time, free boating on everyone else's good graces. And then when it got to Philly, it promptly got his ass kicked because that's what it deserved. So, like, we totally dismantled that thing, tore off its arms, broke its, like, metal head, stole the iPod. And, hey, dude, like, this is what you get for stealing all of our good charity for so long. Like, you come to Philly, bad things happen. So, yeah, you see us in the streets of Philly, we might not say hi to you just because that's just the way things go. But
so because this competition, bro, Adam Gase.
Oh my God, yeah, that guy.
We're gonna drop a 50 burger on him.
Yeah, seriously. No, that was what I was gonna say. I can see us getting like 44 points, 50 points against them, and then they get a couple garbage touchdowns, so they end up with like, I don't know, 17 or whatever. But we're playing a backups. Nice. All right. So the next challenge, we got 3 more games that we're going to go over, is the Minnesota Vikings. So I kind of got them confused originally with the Falcons when we were going over the schedule, because we played both the Falcons and the Vikings when we were on our way to win the Super Bowl. And that's kind of who we played as well when we went and lost against the Patriots in 2004. But so we beat them in the NFC Championship game, just demolished them, crushed them. But they signed Kirk Cousins, who's not good against any team but the Eagles, and then we lost to them last year in a revenge game. So this time we're playing them in Minnesota again, and I mean that's almost like our second home now, right? So we've accomplished so much on their soil. But I mean, what do you think the stats or the projections for that game are versus Minnesota? Well, I just asked what your projections for the Minnesota game is.
And I say that, like, honestly, that's like, I say 35-14.
Yeah. So actually, I kind of see something similar. Kirk Cousins has had our number. They got revenge against us last year. I don't see it lasting, though, because they don't protect their quarterback. They haven't gotten a great offensive line. They're one-dimensional. I mean, I don't really trust their running back. He's been injured. I think it's Dalvin Cook. He's been injured way too much for me to take him seriously. Their wide receivers are good, but their defense has been losing people, like, consistently. So I don't think that their defense is what it was when they went to that NFC Championship game against us. But also, I mean, you got to give it credit to Doug Peterson. Minnesota Vikings defense that year was first in the league. We beat them. And then last year, the Chicago Bears defense was first in the league. We beat them too. So I have faith in Dougie P. This game, I can see us winning probably 28-14, something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely see that, man.
Okay. So that's the first game in our away slate. And the next game we got is against the Cowgirls on Sunday Night Football in Dallas. Now, the tickets are as low as $68. This is a game that me and Andre might be thinking of going down. Heck, we might even have like a live stream or something like that during the game or during halftime, something. Who knows? But, I mean, what are your predictions for this one? Oh, looks like Andre's gone again. Well, talking about our history against them, they beat us. They swept us last year. It's hard to say that. Yeah, Andre, I was just talking about the Cowgirls and how they swept us last year, and it's even hard to say that right now.
Yeah.
Like, I did not expect them to do that because, you know, before they got Amari Cooper, they weren't showing any signs of life. But, I mean, it just goes to show how good he is. At the same time, they've lost a bunch of their defensive players because of suspensions or retirings to go smoke weed or something like that. So, like, even what's his name? Ezekiel Elliott might get in punishment. So I actually kind of see them having a regression in a year. And plus, too many of their players are in line for monster paydays. DeMarcus Lawrence just got paid a fuck ton. So are they going to be able to afford Dak Prescott when he wants his contract and Ezekiel Elliott when he wants his contract? And who knows if, well, Amari Cooper, I can actually see him leaving because he might not feel that they're going to pay him as much or he just doesn't like the climate or organization. So, like, what are your predictions for this first game against them next year?
Well, I think, okay, so, like, my predictions are Ezekiel Elliott is for a slump. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, you know, those physical guys who had this amazing physical talent, like, they're due for, you know, I'd say about year 4, they're burning out, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that it'll probably be a close game, man. I think that we'll probably beat them by a touchdown.
Yeah. I was actually thinking, like, it's going to be a close game, that it's going to be harder than we thought. I don't think they're necessarily going to do great against us. So I think the score is going to be like 17-13. It's going to be a slugfest, a really sloppy game. And, I mean, that's usually what happens against at least one of the divisional opponents. We just have a really ugly game. But I can still see us pulling through based on talent alone, experience, having a more strong-minded quarterback. So, like, when you compare the two, we got Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott. Yeah. I mean, people shit on Prescott a lot, but he's come through and done occasionally good. He's taken his team to the playoffs twice. But I feel like Carson Wentz has a fire in him right now. He's so, I guess, jealous of the fan base's love for Nick Foles that he's going to do whatever he needs to possible, like, and he's going to will us to win this game. So this game, I see Carson Wentz showing us something special. It might be a boring, frustrating game to watch, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a testament to how far we'll go in the season. This will be like one of our first true tests.
Yeah.
So we got one more game, and that's against Buffalo. So Buffalo. Do you even know where on the map of New York Buffalo is?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, man. I mean, I've been to Canada only a few times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think I passed by Buffalo. Yeah, I'm saying. I mean, like, they had to have a big ass fucking sign because if they didn't, I would not known had I gone past Buffalo. So, I mean, honestly, on the map, I couldn't point it out. I know it's like up top in New York, but I couldn't be like, oh, it's right here, bro.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, something that I would, it's not a place that I would consider,
Yeah, I don't even consider it to be habitable. Like it's not a place I would enjoy going. So, like, yeah. What were you saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, because, like, Buffalo is somewhere where you live, where you don't want to be a part of society.
Yeah. I heard, like, and this isn't a quote from me, but apparently a former Buffalo Bills player said it is akin to being in Siberia. Like, Siberia. You just do not want to be there. Like, it's freezing. I'm a warm weather fan. I'm not the warm weather fan. I like warm weather. I'm a fan of warm weather. So, me going there, probably not going to happen. But we're actually almost tied with them down the middle. We have a 7-6 series lead against them, and we won the last game. But the thing is, a lot of Bills fans are really, really, really optimistic, overly optimistic about this team because they signed a bunch of really small wide receivers like John Brown and Cole Beasley. They have a widely erratic quarterback who can run okay, but he can't throw the ball for crap. But they somehow think because all these other quarterbacks made a leap in year 2 that he's magically going to do the same. Buffalo Bill fans, for some reason, is a combination for me of, like, I think they're funny, but also it's, like, kind of, like, disgusting. Like, not like they're gross or anything, but, like, it's just I don't get where that careless optimism is. Like, when Nick Foles went down, I mean, when Carson Wentz went down and we had to face the Falcons in the playoffs, I thought we were going to lose because that's what, like, a person who does, like, studying and, like, actually thinks about it like, is going to see. So most of these Buffalo fans have never really experienced – they haven't experienced a team that was what I would call to be good. You know what I mean? I think they made one playoff appearance in the past, like, 17 years. Yeah. So, like, they've never seen success. They get, like, a little glimpse of this quarterback, Josh Allen, who's just mediocre, and I don't know what makes them think that they know what's a good team now. They haven't seen one. The only ones that have are, like, was in the 90s. Like, and even those are so far away, it just doesn't relate to football today. Like, those teams that they try to play in today's age, like, they just get blown out.
Well, I mean, like, when we look at it, man, I mean, they're used to a norm, man. They're used to a norm of not making playoffs. Yeah. They're used to having little spurts of success. I mean, like, for instance, last year where they blew out the Vikings.
Yeah. Oh. Well, Andre cut off. Well, they blew out the Vikings. But, yeah, they're just not used to sustaining, I guess, that. They get so high after a win, they don't really realize what worked. So they're either focusing on the wrong things that worked and not treating each individual team like their own team that has strengths or weaknesses, or they're just trying to do the same thing because that worked before without realizing why it worked. So, I mean, they can get cocky and, I don't know, a little bit arrogant. So yeah, well, I kind of finished your train of thought for you. I was talking about how, like, if you win against the Vikings, like, you're not sure what caused you to win. You might be doing the same thing against the next team who has different strengths and weaknesses, or you might be doing the same thing against the next team because you're like, oh, well, this worked. But, like, you don't know why it worked. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, they can get a fluke game of a team that just took them for granted, but are we going to do that? I don't think so. I think this is going to be another 50 burger. 50 what do you feel? Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, for me, that's the second 50 burger that I called out. I mean, the Jets were the first one, and the Bills were the second one, which coincidentally, they're the same division as Patriots.
And that's our next subject. So we were actually going to talk about that. It's a problem where the best team in the league, like everything is set up to make things balanced. The schedule is supposed to be balanced. But the past 3 years, the Patriots have had the easiest schedule every year in the league. And they've made the Super Bowls after those years. This shouldn't be happening. It's just not fair. Like the Jets are just straight garbage. Like they win, they go to 2 AFC championship games, but then they're like, okay, let's butt fumble. And then like they're gonna sign a coach that didn't work in the Miami situation, and they're gonna like, I guess, fire their GM after they let him run the draft and free agency. Like what? All their decisions are just mind-numbingly stupid. Adam Gase is a guy who has like all the arrogance in the world because he worked with Peyton Manning. And he's like, oh, well, I got him to have this amazing year. It's like, dude, like everyone that worked with Peyton Manning had an amazing year. Like that's not you. That's like all the people that used to coach the defense for the Ravens when Ray Lewis was there.
Yeah.
A bunch of those guys ended up getting coaching jobs, like Marvin Lewis got a coaching job because he went there and stuff. And then Lovie Smith, I think, went there too. Oh, yeah, the guy, Mike Singletary, he was coaching the Ravens defense too before he became the coach of the 49ers. They were all terrible. But, like, yeah, like the Dolphins have been shit. Buffalo has been garbage. We just listed they've been to the playoffs one time in 17 years. And then they immediately get rid of the quarterback that got them there. Like, I know Tyrod Taylor wasn't amazing, but he was better than what you guys had and currently have by a long shot. And like, he's like, wow.
Adam Gase is like, you know, he's that guy in the group project that, you know, he fucking skips the class like half of the year.
Yeah.
Then he shows up at the end and says, can you put my name on that?
Yeah, but not just that. He wants his name in bold at the top. You know what I mean? He wants to take all the credit. And then if anything goes wrong, it was everybody else's fault. Like, no, like I was the professional. I was the guy who did everything. It's always everybody else. Like, look at the Dolphins when he was there. And the problems, I mean, they're still continuing. Like, they're the leading users of cocaine among coaches in the league. I did the study myself. So, like, also, if you remember Jay Ajayi, they were talking mad shit on him. They're like, oh, like he's a dysfunctional player. He doesn't get along with people. And we're like, okay, you want a 4th rounder for him? And they're like, yeah. And we got him and won the fucking Super Bowl. And then Jarvis Landry, same issue. Like, they're like, oh, he's a diva. He wants too much money. And then they traded him away, and he's fine now. He doesn't have any diva or coaching issues. It was all like their organization. Well, that goes to speak at the top. Like, how are you going to be an organization that consistently does this? You know what I mean? It's a problem if you get Adam Gase in there, and then after that, you're like, let's wipe the slate clean, start afresh, and be okay. That never happened. It's just shit show after shit show after shit show in Miami.
I think it's just like the culture, man. I think that the culture of the city that the NFL team is in,
definitely,
you know, that's what it is. I think the reason why they you know, because like look at Miami, right? Miami itself is not a hometown culture. You know, Miami itself is a city of transplants and of like
rich old people. It's a
rich old people and superficial.
Yeah. Like the average age of the Miami Heat games, I think, was like
they call them snowballs. Man.
Yeah, snowflakes, snowballs.
Well, snowbirds. Yeah, so like snowbirds.
Yeah.
Snowbirds is a term that that's used for people who come from like colder regions who either go down south for retirement or they either have beach homes.
Wow. That makes so much sense. Like, I never had a word for those people, but now I do. That's amazing.
I say myself, they're snowbirds, man.
I get it. Yeah, because, okay, yeah. Well, actually, that's a sign of someone who's rich. You probably haven't heard this expression, but for those of you who want to know about rich snobby culture, to tell if someone's rich is if they use, like, a season of the year as a verb. Like, where do you summer? Or where do you winter? Like, it's like, what do you mean? Like, standing in my place eating ramen noodles, my dude.
Yeah. Like that.
So, yeah, moving on. We just talked about how the Patriots unfairly have the easiest schedule every year. It's bullshit. No wonder they have, like, I don't know, so many Super Bowl appearances because they're guaranteed a home playoff game every single year. And even if they don't, like, they can arguably get home field advantage every single year because they're getting 5 to 6 easy wins. Like, imagine if the Foreskins or the Cowgirls or the Giants weren't competitive for 17 years straight. Like, that's just what? Like 17 years straight of this, all of those teams being dog shit? Like, you kidding me? Not to mention, like, every single year we have a new division winner in our division. And almost every single year there's a point in the year where they're like, oh, the NFC East really isn't that good. It's not that we're not that good. It's we have to face each other, my dudes. Like, we don't have to face the Jets twice a year, so we don't get these easy wins every single year. So we're not going to waltz into the season like 10-6, 11-5. That's a low year for us because we face terrible teams all the time.
Gotcha.
All right. So I think that actually pretty much wraps it up. We were going to talk about the NFLPA strike warning, but I think we'll push that off to the next time because we're running low on time. So
because what were you saying? Sorry.
Oh no, I just want to tell everybody the name of our podcast today. What was it? Jawnhundred Days of Summer. Like 100 days of summer, but I think there's like 100 days left of like summer or something like that before the season starts. So we're just looking forward to that. We actually, I mentioned it when he was kind of like in an internet flux, but me and Andre going to try to make it some games. We might even meet up in Dallas for that Dallas away game.
Oh, yeah.
The Sunday Night Football game. That'd be pretty sweet. Who knows? Maybe we can get a podcast going during the game, something like that. But thanks for stopping by. And Andre, do you got any last comments?
Yeah, I mean, because like this episode, I couldn't contribute as much as I could because of the internet problems. But like, Chris, man, you really took it away, baby.
Thanks.
I mean, you really had it. And and I guess like we'll go over a sponsor. One sponsor we are sponsored by is the Bag Drawer. You come home with grocery bags from Walmart or something like that, and you take all your groceries out them, but you don't know where to put them. You have Bag Drawer, where you put those old grocery bags in the drawer and you use them for other utilities. Bag Drawer.
Yeah. Like, because I have a cat, and I always had to take out his poop. And everyone in the grocery market is always like, oh, why are you taking grocery bags? You should be conscious for the environment. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to hand scoop my cat's poop and throw it in the trash. Not happening. So, all right. Great episode today. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll hope to see you next time.
All right. JawnZone.
JawnZone.
Out.
Peace.
Peace.